On a beautiful evening like this, when I'm smiling and relaxed, I cannot stop thinking about my father. Now, continuing on the same subject, let's count our blessings. This time, I want to talk about my father. My father has been, like every other father to everyone, has been a huge influence in my life too. I can tell you 1,000 things that he put his mark on me. Out of all those, 2 things I seem to have inherited from him, made it part of my lifestyle and my personality. Firstly, his charming smile. I always found his smile the most attractive, especially when I used to watch him at his tea shop. He was so nice to people with his smile. Secondly, the way he spoke. He was a very sweet talker, and people used to listen to him. In the village, he was known as the wise man, and people used to approach him for their problems. They want to discuss solutions to their issues. And he was able to convince people with his ideas, and people respected him a lot. And I was always watching him, the way he interacted with people. At home, he was the most wonderful father you could imagine. Even though he is a businessman, he had a busy daytime work at the tea shop. When he reached home, he was just merely a husband and a father. And he used to involve with everything that we did at home, especially helping our mother. And what was most impressive about him was how he managed to take all of us kids into the kitchen to help our mom. He taught us how hard mother was working, and she needed help. And he used to tell us, instead of sitting in your room, let's all help. Let's all make the breakfast, lunch together so that it's much more enjoyable. We put our hand in all those. That was a beautiful experience. And also maybe that was the beginning of that passion for food. Among a lot of other things, I also remember when I was in Delhi, my first trip away from home. There were times I was stuck without having a job there and without money, nobody to support or help. I used to think I should go back. And my father was the only person who kept on telling me, don't do that. Since you have started this journey, you have to complete it. And he stopped me from going back home. He kept on sending some money now and then to keep me going in Delhi. I can never forget that strength he passed on. And that was the whole reason I reached this far. And he was such a positive thinker. In the last 2 decades, I went through some tough times. As I started following my ideas, I went into a business in India. Initially, he was against it, but then he helped me to complete it, and he was a big part of that as well. At his old age, he did a lot of work for my India project, Rasa Gurukul. And I remember going through the tough time, the difficult situations as I was beginning to establish that project. He was a very keen follower of astrology, and he knew a little bit of astrology himself. And he used to read my chart, and he suggested, I was going through a tough time. This phase is not good for you. Though I didn't believe him, I kept quiet. One day I remember him telling me, there's always a time to rise, then it's time to come down. So you had your ups. Now maybe it's time to step down. There's nothing wrong in that. That is the natural process. And I remember following his advice and trying to understand the real situation in my life at that time. And I was more than happy to accept the difficult times and cope with the reality, surrendering to the events of my life. So he was such a huge impact in everything. And also at the last phase of our relationship, last phase of his life, I remember talking a lot to him, and he was more than a father to me, more than many things I could imagine. We were so close. We used to communicate every day. We started to feel like friends. I remember sharing my life stories, my passion, also asking for advice. He was so profound and enterprising. Sitting in the village, he could suggest solutions to my problems in London. I was quite amazed. And a lot of people visited my village from London, and he used to try to speak to them in his broken English. He was so proud of me, what I have done. Most importantly, as a host, he was an incredible person, and he used to really entertain people.